from Nashville, Tennessee. It's time for another episode of Tips, Tactics, and Tools for a Safer Tomorrow, where all things related to your safety and security are discussed, detailed, and delivered to you. You may leave with a tip that saves you money or a tactic that saves your life. So here are your hosts, owner and founder of Defense Systems, Brent Fiddler, and owner and operator of Herring Technology, Tom Herring.
Hey guys, welcome to this edition of Tips, Tactics, and Tools for a Safer Tomorrow. With you as always, Brink and Tom, our host, and Tom is technically the founder of this podcast. It went something like this. My phone rang one day. Hey, what are you doing? I was driving. What are you doing? He's like, you want to do a podcast? I'm like, yeah, actually, I'd like to do that, Tom. That sounds great. So this podcast was born. But just if you're not a regular listener and you don't know what this is all about, we talk about all things related to safety and security in life, whether that's security technology, security products, events that have happened, lessons learned from events, and oftentimes we will have guests on to talk about their role in the safety and security world. So we are honored today to have Craig Parker with GEODIS. I will tell you his exact title because it seems like, if I remember right, it's kind of long. But he is well, I'll let you tell him what his title is, but I'll start with Craig. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you being patient with us too, as our time was a little off today.
No worries. Happy to be here. Thank you.
And give us your title exactly.
So I am the head of security for GEODIS for the Americas.
Okay. So most people in the Nashville area had no clue what GEODIS was until GEODIS Park came about. And a lot of those people still have no idea what GEODIS is. I do, only because I do a lot of work with Tom. So tell our audience, if you will, quickly what GEODIS, the company, is and what it is you guys do.
Yeah, it is a good point that you say that. I was just talking to my wife about this the other night that, we were watching the local news and they mentioned GEODIS Park. And I mentioned to her, I am amazed that as often as you see and hear GEODIS Park, local news, events, Nashville Soccer Club, etc., how many people still are unfamiliar with GEODIS Park, GEODIS name, and what we do. The short of it is GEODIS, we are a global supply chain company, global logistics. Our parent company is based out of Paris, France. The Americas corporate offices are based here in Brentwood, Tennessee. And in short, we have three lines of business. One is transportation. So that is transportation management, where we manage the movement of product for customers. Physical transportation, that is where we move physical boxes on behalf of customers to end users, retail, etc. Second line of business would be contract logistics. So that is basically warehousing line of business, where we will warehouse and move product on behalf of customers that either can't or don't want to do it themselves. And then the third line of business is freight forwarding. So that is where if you have product in China and you want to import it to the U.S., we support the duties, taxes, regulatory requirements, those kinds of things on behalf of our customers.
Okay. So, well said. I mean, a lot of people, me included, till probably, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago at this point, but I didn't understand what logistics was. Like, if you don't operate in that space, I was a door kicker. I don't need to know what a logistics company does. It sounds like they do something complicated. But what I know now, obviously, and about what you guys do and about that space is that theft is a massive thing you're fighting against all the time, whether that's internal or external, especially, and we won't talk about who any of your clients are, but especially considering some of the things that you guys house and move and all the things that retail theft is just a massive problem. And I'm sure there's data out there as far as the numbers go on what it costs companies every year, but it's Google it. I mean, it is a astronomical number that you guys are fighting against, and I think that's probably, and I don't know the whole backstory here, but that's probably where the relationship with Herring started. Was I always tell people and have for a long time, Herring's not a technology company; they're a solutions company. They just use technology to provide solutions, but like, the name is a little misleading because like they want to know what your problem is, and we're going to come in and fix it, and this is how we're going to do it. And so I imagine that's probably how this started.
I would say so, many years ago, and like Craig said, though, they touch every piece. And if you stop and think about it, you're talking about transporting cargo in cargo containers, over the road, trucking, docks, warehousing, high levels of inventory, ports, international, everything. And it's there's some opportunity there for some wrong thinking
criminals
to take place, and these guys deal with it in every aspect. Then you also have the personnel side of, the warehousing, the people who are working there, day-to-day situations there. It's very expansive. Your role is beyond what a lot of people can comprehend, even me who works with you in it. It's never ending. So you have personnel, you have cargo, you have trucking, you have shipping, you have you name it, and they're doing that all over the world, and that's a big job, Craig.
What would you say your biggest hurdle is? Like I mean, your job better than anybody. You've been doing this a long time, so is it personnel theft? Is it outside theft? Is it personnel issues? I mean, what's your biggest hurdle you face?
Yeah, I'll tell you that it is interesting, and I appreciate Tom bringing up personnel, because, and I don't just say this because I report to the EVP of HR. I truly believe this, and I am actually very passionate about this. The most important asset within our company is the people.
Amen.
We employ thousands of people, and most importantly, we want to make sure those people go home each night or each day the same way that they came in. I've listened to many of your podcasts. I know that many of the podcasts center around, and it's right there in your opening, safety. I present my team as we are business leaders first, with an expertise in security, loss prevention, those kinds of things. And that is the perfect example of that, is that as business leaders, I have an obligation, my team has an obligation to keep our people safe every day whenever they are on property. So as much as we are involved in theft prevention, protecting our customers' product, we are as much, if not more, invested in protecting our people. So some of the things that we've worked with Tom Herring and his team on is those things that do just that, protect people. And we can talk about things like access control, camera systems, etc. But that really is our number one priority in the organization, at least for my team, and that is the well-being and the protection of people. The other thing I would say about business leaders first is that my world, the world of security, really crosses over into many other areas of the organization. So you hear me obviously several times already talk about safety and workforce protection. So, many people, and again, that's part of what this podcast is about, is education. What many people don't understand is that security is just not about protecting product. Again, it is about protecting people. It is also about protecting our customers' brands. because oftentimes the brand of the customer is as important, if not more important, than whatever physical product we have in our care and custody. But you think about being a business leader, our world crosses over, at least if you do it right, our world crosses over into the world of safety. You've already heard me talk a little bit about that. Our world crosses over into the world of legal. In my position, I deal a lot with our legal group, contracts, claims, lawsuits, those kinds of things. And then also, again, you heard me mention I report to our EVP of Human Resources. Again, you heard me talk about people, but also as it relates to training, awareness, etc. One of the big initiatives for my team is active shooter awareness and mitigation, workplace violence awareness and mitigation. Unfortunately, that is a reality of the world we now live in, is that on any given day, when you have thousands of people in the workplace, the potential for a bad actor to cause serious damage to our people, again, our most important asset, is significant every single day.
Amen. You're preaching my language. I mean, obviously, talking to a guy that started an active shooter mitigation training company, but I saw the writing on the wall. And the reality is, yeah, the threat's there. 100%. Is it likely? No, I would not say it's likely. The thing about those events and why we focus where we do is that they're low probability, but they're super high impact, and not just high impact from a potential branding, business continuity standpoint, but like families, right? Like you back to your people, which are, if you own a company and your people aren't your most important asset, then you're doing something wrong. I mean, like that's, I love that y'all obviously feel that way. I think every successful company does. I mean, you can't be successful without good people. So my team is small but mighty, but everybody on my team would run through a brick wall for me if I asked them to. I think that's just what you should take care of your people. But I listened to a lady speak a few weeks ago. I was out in Minnesota, and she was a teacher that was a survivor of the Red Lake shooting, Red Lake High School shooting. I don't know, 20 years ago now, and the scars she still carries to this day. I mean, she was a teacher and watched kids in her classroom get executed, right in front of her, and like that's affected. I mean, it's such a ripple effect forever. It's not just, oh, we lost a tractor trailer full of whatevers. I won't even say what. That's bad. Okay, we need to deal with that. But that doesn't affect people's lives, people's mental health, the whole all the things they have, like workplace violence and stuff like that does. And, when I started looking into this stuff, I learned very quickly. I mean, yes, obviously with what Tom does, we'd love to keep them out, of course, right? Or have smart technology that works for us to give us early detection and all those things. And I am a huge proponent of all that. But at the end of the day, if the people in the building don't know what to do, none of that stuff matters. And what the data continues to tell us is that the people in the event knowing what to do is where the real difference is made. I think most people, when they kind of go through some of the stuff that we talk about, they get it real quick because timelines don't matter and data doesn't lie, and people just don't know that information, and it changes their perspective when they do. But I think most organizations like yours, like some of our other big corporate clients, they do understand it, and they understand it's a thing, and they understand it's something that they need to deal with. Oftentimes, it's just not pushed to the forefront until an event happens. But it's the same thing in law enforcement. Like, we don't get meaningful change in law enforcement, like around law enforcement training and stuff, until an officer dies. We had a bunch of schools reach out to us after Uvalde happened, wanting training, but that happened to be right before summer break started. By the time summer break ran, less than 20% of them had done anything around training. The next year, Covenant happens, and every one of them booked. So it's a thing. It's human nature. I'm not bashing anybody for it, but the reality is, and the data tells us, that we're never going to stop all these, but if we can mitigate 90% of it, that's what we need to be doing, and we need to be focusing there. And I love that you guys are also so focused on your people. From a not threats side of the house, but actually like kind of problem set you deal with most often, what would it be in your role as far as like all the things, the theft or the internal or what, or is there one? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have your job, by the way, either. Like not for $1 million, but I am curious what is your biggest thing you face every day?
Well, and to be clear, I don't have my job for $1 million.
Oh, good. Yeah, got it.
Either. But a couple of things I would state is, and we were talking a little bit about this before we started recording, is that, what we do, our world, I'll speak for myself, my world, logistics is in its simplest form about moving boxes.
Sure.
And operations, et cetera. That's what they spend the vast majority of their time focused on, and that's how we make a profit, right? We move boxes at a profit to simplify it. And one of the things we were talking about before we started recording is that I understand my place in the larger organization. GEODIS, we are a global company. I think we're in over 80 different countries around the world. I understand my place within the larger organization. And the thing I mentioned to you before we started recording is that, and this is something I teach to my team all the time, because I hear from them and I hear from others, well, I've made this recommendation and it's the right thing to do, but I can't sell them on doing it. And, my feedback is, we've got to understand that 89 out of 90 days, our world is not the most important thing to the organization. But on that 90th day where you have an event or a close call, and we are the most important thing of the day, to your point, talking about Uvalde or Covenant, you never want to have a tragic event like that, but when you do have the attention, you have to make the most of it while you can and try to do the most good while you have that moment. And again, you made the point before, the organization moves on to the next thing. And that is something that I try to focus on. I try to focus my team on all the time. Now, all that to say, and you asked the question about product theft, those kinds of things. Certainly that is a big part of what my team does, what our focus is. And you heard me state it once already. I won't mention brand names,
Sure.
but I will state that we have customers with very high profiles, global brands that you would recognize in just about any country. And that is the other thing we have to keep in mind. It's one thing to lose a truckload of whatever. And, depending on the circumstances of that loss, you close gaps, you change processes, you change or add protections, whatever it may be. But the thing you can't lose sight of is what that loss means to the brand of that customer. If it is a new technology that was stolen, well, that is worth far more to the customer than that physical product. Is that brand protection, that technology protection. And then
You mean the intellectual property side of things?
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly right.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Whether it is small electronics, something like that, protecting that new technology is usually far more greater than whatever the individual value of that product is. The other thing you have to think about when it comes to theft and brand protection is the assumption that whatever is stolen is now going out onto the black market. So now your customer is theoretically competing against themselves out on the market. The other thing I would say, and you've heard me touch on this a few times already, if you do it right, security crosses over into many other areas of the organization. The other area I would mention is as it relates to quality. By quality, what I mean is we have a lot of customers that have consumable product. So you think about this, if a consumable product is now stolen, while in the care and custody of GEODIS, again, presumably that product now goes out onto the black market. That product is bought and consumed by an unaware population. Well, expiration dates, insufficient food storage, you could make people sick or worse within that process. So, I think it's on Netflix. There's a new documentary out about the Tylenol poisoning from back in the 1980s. And this is something we often use in our awareness trainings, is before those events, you didn't have those quality seals on OTC, over-the-counter drugs. You just took the cap off and there were the pills. But I think ultimately 7 people died from those Tylenol poisonings, and that's why you now have those safety seals on OTC drugs.
I don't know the story. I mean, obviously it was an intentional act on somebody's part. They were intentionally putting poison. I don't know the story, but that's really messed up. But to the point we made earlier, well, when did we get meaningful change? Right, to protect people. Yeah. Well, when people died,
That's
I mean,
exactly right.
it's
that's
terrible.
the way our world operates. And to emphasize Craig's point, this did not involve GEODIS, just to be clear, but
That
it
is
was
correct.
with another logistics company, and we were in our early days. To your point of, it's not just the value of the product at that time. It was a DVD manufacturing company, and they were warehousing, and we had to go in and supply technology to watch, once it came over. And as a security guy, we went in, put a few cameras around, and what had never hit me, I'm looking at the cost of a DVD. They're small. The company's no longer in business, as you can imagine, since DVDs. But anyway, I looked at it as the value of the DVD. What it cost back then. A new movie would be $14.99, whatever. But DVDs are small, so a truckload of them, that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy just started laughing at me while we were sitting at the table and we were going through our, the assets of it and what the loss would be and everything. And he was like, no. These movies, and this was a high-profile movie back then, may have been something that rhymed with Harry and Potter or whatever, but they were printing those DVDs, 8 months, 9 months, 10 months prior to the release of the movie in the theaters.
Oh, yeah, you would crush your theater revenue if it got out.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's when it didn't hit me. And then, they literally scared the crap out of me when they started talking about the dollar value of that being pre-released on the black market and getting out prior to the release of the movie. And, at first I was like, we're going to throw in a few cameras and we'll watch these DVDs. And then when that hit, it was like, no, we'll have armed guards in here all the way around. It was, and that's what the public loses. To your point of a case of goods that are in there that comes out of your control from a theft, but gets back on the shelf through the black market, whether it's tainted, what happens to it during that time. It's that brand that's tarnished from then on.
Or his point about the intellectual property. I mean, if it's new technology and your competition gets it, that's bad.
Exactly.
It's really bad.
It's not the cost of the product any longer. It's the whole.
No, we know where most of the stuff's made, and we know what it probably costs to make it. I mean, and it makes sense. I mean, I guess there's a lot of that. In generalities, because I don't want to get too specific, but talk to us and really me. Tom does a good job with not sharing much with me, even though we work together a lot, because he's loyal to his clients, right? And so talk to me a little bit about what you can, anyways, as far as technology you guys leverage from these guys to help you do your job, like, and what, like, how has that been so useful to y'all? Because y'all, I mean, obviously you're as sold on herring as I am. I mean, you're sitting here doing this, but you've been using these guys for a long time. You know, I'm here all the time. I recommend them all the time. I'm sold. So talk to me about some of the technology you leverage from them and how it helps you every day.
So two things I would say is, to the point about partnerships, et cetera, and Tom's heard this from me before. I've been doing this kind of work. I've been in this field for 35 years now. I started in retail at 19 years old as a plainclothes shoplift agent, having no idea that this industry even existed. But a friend came to me at the time and said, hey, you can chase people, get in fights, wear plain clothes, and get paid to do it.
19, you're like, sign me up.
That's exactly right.
Testosterone squirting out your ears. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So that's all he needed to tell me. And, you know, as many of us do, 35 years later, you're like, okay, I've made a career out of this. But the point being, I have no motivation to go to conferences and those kinds of things anymore. I have no interest in hearing a 5-minute spiel from 100 different vendors giving me a pitch on whatever. I would much rather spend hours with trusted partners that knows my business, knows what I am looking for, and can have deep, involved conversations about how to improve, how to make things better, safer, etc. So that's one thing I would say about our partnership with Tom and with Herring in general. One thing that, and to your point about protections and infrastructure, technology, etc., camera systems have been mentioned a couple times here. And one of the things that I often hear from non-experts within the organization is we've had a issue with this. Let's say it is employees' cars getting broken into in the parking lot. And I will often hear, well, how about we put up a camera and put a stop to this? And as the subject matter expert, I'll say, okay, well, let's talk about that. In today's environment, depending on the jurisdiction, but generally speaking, property crime is of very low priority for many jurisdictions, law enforcement jurisdictions around the country. Especially look at some of the larger areas around the country, it is just not a priority, for better or for worse. So you think about, okay, let's talk through this. A car gets broken into, purse gets stolen. Let's say you do get that on camera. Now what? You file a police report. Maybe the police come out. Maybe they take the report over the phone, give you a report number so you can report it to insurance. I would say 80-90% of the time it goes no further than that. But let's say you do get a good shot of the person. Well, what's law enforcement going to do with that information? It is a 6'2" white male, 55 years old with a beard. Well, me included, there's thousands of people like that, probably just within that jurisdiction. The point is, law enforcement will more than likely do nothing with that information. Again, the more specific point is cameras, my opinion, do not stop bad actors from committing crimes. At best, a camera, more often than not, it makes for a good witness after the fact. Now, if the person that broke into the car is an employee, yeah, that's actionable information. Is the person that broke into the car a spouse of that employee? yes, now that is actionable information. But if it is just some random criminal, the overriding point, the emphasis that I would like to make to our employee base, don't have your purse, your valuables in plain sight in the first place. Again, our employees are our most valuable asset. So much of my training, much of my team's emphasis is on proactive deterrence. Don't allow the loss, the theft to occur in the first place. I often like to say, if we get a load stolen, you have maybe a 10% chance of ever recovering that product. And if it is recovered, it is oftentimes by chance. Law enforcement will serve a search warrant on a warehouse looking for something else, and our product or our customer's product just happens to be there, and we get a phone call. But overall, you get about a 10% chance of a recovery. Whether it's personal property, customer property, etc., the emphasis needs to be on proactive deterrence. Because once it's lost, you have a very slim chance of ever getting it back. Now, back to your point about infrastructure, protections, etc. You heard me talk about cameras. Yes, cameras have their place. They are very important, but you have to understand where and how they are of value. I would like to emphasize the importance of things like access control. One of the fundamental things that we do now is access control full height turnstiles in our facilities. Again, you go back and you talk about protecting the workforce. One of the most common scenarios of workplace violence, active shooter in my world, is domestic violence that now becomes workplace violence. So Tom and I live together, and he beats me.
I'm sorry. For you.
That's a hypothetical.
Yeah. I feel bad for you already. And he beat you too. Hang on.
So Tom and I live together, and he beats me because dinner's cold, laundry's not done, whatever it is. Well, I've had enough. I'm not taking it anymore, so I'm going to leave, Tom. I'm going to go sleep on a friend's couch. I'm going to go stay in a hotel, whatever it is. Tom says, okay, fine. I will find you anyways. If Tom wants to do me harm, the best place to find me is where? It's in the workplace.
Yep.
So, I can go sleep on a friend's couch, whatever it may be. It is much more difficult for me to change my place of work. Not only that, Tom, because we're in a relationship, hypothetically, we're in a, just for purpose of the story, in a relationship, he probably knows what I drive. He knows the hours I work. Yep. Where I park, when I take my breaks, those kinds of things. So again, if he wants to do me harm, the workplace is the most likely place to do it. Now, if he really wants to do me harm and he's going to bring a weapon to the workplace to do me harm, in this case, Tom is a very good shot. But in theory, even if he is a good shot, if Tom's going to bring a weapon to my workplace to do me harm with that weapon, even if he gets me with that first shot, other people are likely at risk. Other people other than me are likely to get hurt or worse in that situation. I say all that to say this. Access control, badge readers, full height turnstiles that you can't just jump over to get access to the workforce is one of our mainstays in our warehouses to help mitigate those types of events from happening.
Well, you nailed it. In your workplace stuff, it is oftentimes domestic related. There was one, I think, I might get this wrong, but I think it was at the Bronx Lebanon Hospital in New York City, and it was a domestic. It was a domestic in the parking lot, and it spiraled out of control, and the suspect ended up shooting the girl, and then just was like, well, my life's over, and walked in the hospital and started shooting people. So it's not always like disgruntled employees. I mean, we get that a lot. I mean, you get disgruntled employees, and you get some of that too. But I think people lose sight of what you're talking about. That how threats to the workplace can materialize may have nothing to do with what goes on at the workplace, right? Like this example you were talking about. It's just a predictable place to find somebody, and it happens all the time. Schools, people don't know the research and have the data on school shootings, and so they throw gobs of money after a school shooting at putting up 28 more cameras, because the parents pull on the property to see the cameras, it makes them feel good. Well, in reality, over 80% of school attacks are conducted by a current or former staff or student, and 90% of that 80 are students. Your shooter's in the building. So let's pump the brakes there and dial in on where the actual threats may be. And I think that's, you probably find this, and I don't want to ask you directly because I don't want you to quote unquote feel like you're setting anybody out, but I imagine as long as you've been in this industry, getting everyone else on board that's not security minded anyway, like you are, with these other opportunities, I should say, for things to get out of hand. I guess my point is you have to do a lot of educating, because they don't think that way, and they would never think about John's ex showing up and doing the things. I'm worried about, are they getting picked on in the workplace? Is everybody reported to HR? Does this person feel uncomfortable? And I'm not saying we shouldn't look at all that, but a lot of times when we do, we have blinders on and they can't see the forest because the trees are in the way,
Well, we're sick people, Brink.
Who's we?
You.
Oh.
And me. And Craig in his role. We're in these roles. We have to think of everything, of sickness. It's
sure.
like we were talking to a guard not too long ago, and he was talking about being bored and in the SOC, the Security Operations Center, watching all the cameras, and I was like, how are you bored? He was like, well, it's just the same stuff all day, every day, backpacks here, backpacks there. And I said, dude, every backpack has a bomb in it, and every person you don't recognize is here to do harm. And he looked at me and was like, you're sick.
Well.
And I'm like, no, that is our job so that everyone else does not have to be that way.
Yeah.
And go about their day out of fear, knowing that it is safe. And sometimes a dark world for us of, everything that we see is the bad side. And in reality, coming back to dealing with clients and dealing with people, I have to understand that's where I'm coming from, where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Of, not suspecting everything. And you have to do that until it's shown that it's not. Don't know where I got on that sick part, but yeah, it is. We do live in that realm. But I do want to brag on not only GEODIS, but Craig specifically, in that they are a great partner of ours. And the reason they are a great partner is because I know, without a shadow of a doubt, about once every 4 to 6 weeks, I'm going to get an email from Craig that says, anything new out there? What's going on? What are you seeing? What are you doing? And they actually lean on us it challenges us to keep up with what's current. Looking at different manufacturers and doing this, and they're not just getting the manufacturer's vomit spill at headquarters because Craig carries the title of Director of Security. We need to get to him and show him how neat this new shiny fandangle security item is, and it occupies his time to do that. They trust us to do that, but they don't just do it and put it in place and hit a checklist and move on. The other thing we value with them is, and a good partner, and if you're some of our other partners out there, some of you need to listen to this part. Not calling you out, but they give us the feedback. Once it goes in, we work with them constantly, not just Craig, but his entire team across the country. We're constantly hearing back, hey, this failed here, this didn't work, this didn't. Okay, let us work on that. We'll figure it out. And we work through it until we get it right. And a lot of times people just cut and go, or they call and say, hey, we want this. And we're like, that's great, but that's not going to work. And I'll tell you why it's not going to work, because we've seen it with these 10 other clients right here, and it's failed. But it's a trust back and forth with the two companies that's invaluable. And I think when you're dealing with security and personal lives and everything, you have to have a partnership. I mean, not just saying we're partners because we exchange POs. It's
And you live together.
Well, no.
We used to live together.
Stop that. Okay, Mom, we didn't ever. This isn't that. No, the partnership part is too hard to explain, but when it comes down to it, it's not our jobs that are on the line. It's people's lives
Amen.
that are on the line. And it's an important piece there.
Well, I think both of y'all get that, which is why it's so effective between the two of you, which is really admirable. Typically, Greg, when we have somebody on, I like to close by asking them for a piece of advice. I mean, you've been in this industry for 35 years, and I think with our audience, you're going to be talking less to people like you and more to people that are just potentially C-suite or business owners or have security concerns, whatever they are. Based on all the stuff you've seen in the industry for as long as you've been in there, what is a piece of advice you would give if you're talking to a business owner, C-suite person, HR, whatever it is, as far as I want to keep it pretty broad, but in order to be more effective at what you're trying to accomplish, what do you think one piece of advice that we would give to somebody listening to this?
Yeah, great question, and you use the word broad, and that's what I'll speak to. You heard me talk about the scenario of domestic violence becoming workplace violence. One of the things that I really drive home broad-based to our workforce in general in our trainings or whenever I get to speak in front of a group is one of the hurdles that is difficult to overcome is, well, their domestic issue is not my problem. I mind my own business. Yes, I've heard the threats. Yes, I've seen the crying. Yes, I've seen the stress, but that's between the two of them. That is not my business. If I could offer one piece of advice, again, as relates to workforce protection, our people are our most important asset, is to be able to personalize these kinds of things. Many of the things that my team trains to are not only things that can keep you safe in the workplace, but can keep you safe in your personal life also. For example, God forbid you ever are in an active shooter situation and you have to call 911. Well, whether in the workplace or in your personal life, you call 911, one of the first things they're going to ask you is, where is this happening? So one of the things that we train to is know the address of your workplace, but also in your personal life. If you're going to the movies, if you're going to the mall, whatever it is, be able to tell somebody over the phone where that is. What is the address? What are the major cross streets? Those kinds of things. So personalizing what we recommend, what we train to, so that it's not only applicable to your work life, but also to your personal life. I have found that when you can do that, you get much better buy-in than if it is just, well, I don't really care about GEODIS. I'm 18 and I'm planning on being here 6 months and moving on, or I'm going to, graduate college and do something else with my degree. That is wonderful. But again, if I can teach you things that not only keep you safe here today as you work for GEODIS, but as you move forward into your next chapter, whether professionally or personally, again, I have found that you get much better buy-in than if you just make it about do this because I said so, or do this because this is what GEODIS wants you to do or doesn't want you to do. So again, if you can personalize keeping your workforce safe and make them realize, I'm not telling you this just because it's GEODIS, but this will help you in your personal life, keep you, your children, your loved ones safe. Again, I found that you get much better buy-in, you get much better attention than if you just make it about your employer.
Agree with that wholeheartedly, and I have clients all the time that I will brag on in front of the group, because a lot of times when we're doing our training, the people have been voluntold to be there, right? They don't have a choice; they're there to sit through our training. And when I do have clients that bring this up, I will bring it up in front of the group and say, listen, we're here not just because they care about you when you're at work. We're here because they care about you outside of work. And what we're going to teach you today is a skill set, not just for use at work. This is for you and your family when you're at a restaurant, when you're at the mall, the medical portion, whether you roll up on a car crash, you got to save your own family member, whatever it is. Like, they're giving you a skill set outside of here. And you were so right. It goes so much farther with people and is so much more impactful. And you're really paying it forward, right? To even that 18-year-old kid you're talking about. If you make an impact on them, there's a good chance they're going to come back and they're going to come want to work at GEODIS and work in an environment like that. And I'll say Tom does the same thing with his group. Like giving them skills to apply in their life here and also outside of here. So great advice. We appreciate you coming. We appreciate you doing this. We know when Tom first tried to describe for me how busy you were, when I was like, I need to meet this guy. And the diatribe he went into, this is several years ago, was pretty remarkable. So I say that to say I know how busy you are. It's a little mind-numbing if you ask me. I don't know how you do it, but again, I'm glad you do. So we do appreciate your time today and shedding some light on that side of the house, because we haven't had anybody on like him at all to talk about that stuff. And I think that's stuff that people just, all they know is I go to the store and I get my stuff. Like, it's it. Like, it's just okay. But there's so much more to it than that. And more to it than I ever knew until I looked into that world. So we really appreciate you coming.
No, I appreciate you having me. I say this all the time, and this is what I'll end on. I am very passionate about my work. Again, 35 years, we all do what we do for years, for decades. In my mind, what you do, if you're going to put that much time and effort into your career, in my mind, it should be something meaningful. To your point about paying it forward, etc. If what I do can keep people safe, it is worthwhile. And I'll end on this, and I often say it, I love preaching the gospel of what I do. Any opportunity, no matter how busy I am, any opportunity to preach the gospel of what I do, I will always make the time, and I will always make the effort to be able to do that. And I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming. That's going to do it for this edition of Tips, Tactics, and Tools for a Safer Tomorrow. If you guys have show ideas or guest ideas, please reach out to us. We're on all the social media. You can also hit us on both websites, either defensesystems.com or herringtechnology.com. And you can also email us at info@tipstacticstools.com.
I'm out.